Is visible, yes.
All right. Thank you. And if everyone could mute, please, that would be good. So, phase two of co-creating a world that works for all runs from July 30th to June 30th to July 25th. And what's the point of it? What are we doing with this? You heard a little bit a minute ago from Peggy about this idea of a radiant network. To put it in more specific terms, we're going to build upon the energy that we've generated on behalf of co-creating a world that works for all during phase one, going deeper and weaving new people into the conversation. We'll do it over the course of nearly 4 weeks, experimenting with a process innovation that's based on the principles and patterns of open space, but with the goal of opening as much space as we can imagine with all the tools that we now have available to us, and doing it with as much flexibility for participating as we can support, so that we break out of this box of everybody has to show up at the same place in the same time and speak the same language and things along those lines. So just as open space traditionally begins with participants calling sessions on topics that matter to them, just like you've done today, phase two begins with people making invitations for engagement. And after that, we self-organize around these invitations, deciding when, where, and how we want to connect. And then we do it. We engage with one another. And finally, we share what we've learned. So what is an invitation you wish to make to further learning and action? Consider, what are you excited or curious to learn more about? What action are you inspired to invite others to collaborate with you on? What activities or maybe practices might you want to do together? What support might you request for your work? In other words, what's a question that you want to explore between June 30th and July 25th? Rather than an agenda wall, we'll use the Summit map for posting and responding to our invitations. Let's move over to that. Oh, not quite. Yeah, a little more to say here, because phase two is an extended process. Right? We're making space for reflection and for iteration. We're taking it slow because the times are urgent, as Nigerian philosopher Bayo Okomolafe suggests. And slowing down makes space to engage the diversity of people who care. And that often leads to something novel emerging. Okay, so here we go. What does that actually look like? So on the left here, you're seeing a screenshot of our Summit Map invitations marketplace with a view of all of the invitations and responses to them that we generated during a beta testing phase. And then here on the right, we're zooming in and focusing on a particular invitation that was presented then. That actually is a live invitation for phase two on reinventing healthcare together. And it was submitted by Lonnie and Denise, and you can tell because there are blue arrows that connect them there. And other people have responded to that, and those colors mean something too. So there's a specific topic, it's on a focus area, and it also has a purpose. And all of those things help you to navigate the complexity of different sessions or different invitations that might be presented. So focus areas might be climate, education, health and wellness, peace building, etc. Purpose might be to learn something together or to find support for a project, as Denise and Lonnie are doing, or to seek collaboration or practice. Languages are also a way that we can sort. When you issue an invitation, you can name the languages you're willing to support as a host or able to. And when you respond to an invitation, you can also indicate what languages, or when you put yourself on the map, just your profile on the map, you can indicate what languages you're able to speak and participate in. So we've got all that data. And so now what? What happens next? We self-organize using all that information, this invitations marketplace on the map. And instead of a preset schedule like we have right now, or we've had for this phase one, the hosts and the responders connect to get organized and decide to use whatever tools work best for them. So you can sort out locations, languages, meeting timing, whether to use KikoChat. You can use this platform. We'll have some Zoom lines here available to you. Maybe you have your own. There's also the email listserv that we've linked to here. There's WhatsApp, there's Slack, and there's meeting in person. Remember that? We still can do it. And I know I'm planning to organize at least a couple of in-person meetings as part of phase two. I encourage all of you to think about that. And there are clusters of us in many different places. So you've got about 4 weeks to work with and around everyone's busy schedules and time zone differences. If you want to make a meeting public, you can do that by putting it on our TeamUp calendar, and there's a link we'll share later to allow you to do that easily. And then once you've got all that planned, it's time to get to work. So imagine a network of activity around a variety of invitations. We've just got 3 examples here in this slide. Groups are coming together in multiple ways, right? These are one particular way, but there's all these other ways perhaps happening. Conversations are building on one another. We're gathering input maybe from surveys and working on whiteboards. New people are joining and bringing in new dimensions to the conversation. Importantly, we also share what we're learning. Harrison Owen, creator of OpenSpace, who like Ann Stadler also recently passed away, he always said OpenSpace is free for the taking. The only responsibility is to share what you learn. So however you proceed, please link notes and recordings to the invitation on the map so that all of us can learn from what's taken place. And then we'll come together at the end of phase 2 to learn from each other in a large group mode. There'll be closing reflections that start at the same times as these circles did for 2 hours each. And there's a schedule of that we'll share. So I know that's a lot to take in. Just give you a little kind of recap and sort of some clues to how to get started and a little bit more about what this looks like in practical terms. So the key again is that instead of an agenda wall, we're using the Summit map. And we're doing, so most of you have already added yourself to the map. That's kind of step 0. But you might want to update your profile. If you didn't add yourself, you can request to be added by emailing community@bkfoundation.org. And there's a link to also view the map. Then there's the process of adding invitations and then also responding to invitations. And we've got a very nice tab in KikoChat that takes you through the details of all this. It's over here, right here, phase 2. And if you click on that, you'll see some instructions and links to a video and many other things. Also want to note that, in some cases, people may not want to be on the map. It doesn't mean you can't participate because the map itself is public. And so you can still see the invitations, and there's contact information that the hosts have extended them are going to make available in different ways that suit them. So you'll be able to respond privately. And if you wanted to put an invitation on the map without being on there with your identity reveal for security purposes, et cetera, email us and we'll see what we can do to accommodate you. So there are 3 steps to the invitation, which you can see that right there. I'm not going to go through them in detail right now, but it starts with a simple Google form where you submit a provisional title and a short provisional description, and then you'll get a link to the SumApp mapping dashboard, and you can take things from there. And again, all this information is going to be is on that phase 2 tab, and we're also sending out an email shortly that links you to that and says a bit more. And then, as in traditional open space, you do have some responsibilities as a convener, as a host. So you can see that the first is to share something about your commitment to this invitation. So you're not giving a date and time necessarily. I mean, you might say we're going to plan to meet on these dates and times, but you might not know. In any case, share something about your commitment. It's parallel to if you called a session on today's call, right? Show up in the room so that when people show up, you're there. But here it's asynchronous. So it's more like, what's your commitment to getting back to people who respond to your invitation via the map. And then secondly, ensure that a record of what happens is linked to the invitation on the map, and then also announced in the weekly newsletter. And there's a link to that also on KikoChat. So it's a lot. We didn't talk about how you respond to invitations. That's also done through the map, and it's quite simple. But we have plenty of support to help you with all of this. So just dive in, get started, and learn along the way. This is going to be, I think, much easier to do in practice, at least from the technological side, than it is for me to describe to you, actually. There was a term when the internet first came into existence, sneakernet, because sometimes people just carried their data from one machine to another machine. Some things connected easily, others not so much. So to make phase 2 happen, we're connecting a calendar, a map, Zoom, KikoChat as a wrapper. We've got, all these different things, SumApp to collect the data for the map. It may be awkward. It may be a little confusing. Just be patient. and as we learn and adjust and walk you through these things. So we do have the orientation email coming out. There's the weekly newsletter where you can announce things like your invitations. We're going to schedule some live calls, or we're calling them collab sessions. And this will be both support for the technical side, but also thinking together about what makes for a good invitation, or who might want to make this invitation with you, because you don't have to do it by yourself. And we have a little time now to, who are the other 2 or 3 people that you might want to join in on doing this. And then there's our WhatsApp group for tech support. And there's also the email where you can ask questions, as well as the general tech help doc that shows you how to get to the WhatsApp group, etc. So, in conclusion, we see phase 2 as a pioneering step. I mean, I've been for 14 years now trying to reimagine processes like open space to really take advantage of what it means to live in a hybrid world where we don't have to all go to one place and stay there and then go home, meaning everything has to happen in 2 days. What is the collaborative infrastructure that we need right now, that we're yearning for right now to co-create a world that works for all? That's what we're beta testing and prototyping now, and really appreciate your showing up so that we can learn and evolve together in this journey. Thanks so much for your participation.